every chance I get lately, I'm just on history documentaries. I was watching a documentary on the Russian Revolution the other day with, Lenin and Marx and Stalin. She's like, what the fuck? I'm like,
I can't believe I didn't bring this up during the previous segment, but during the height of the pandemic when we couldn't leave our house, I took an online class at Penn on the Civil War, and it was awesome. But it was just funny that I could just sum up that entire class and like, hey, maybe we shouldn't have slaves and go into a middle of the field and shoot each other.
Have a good day.
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Yep. Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things. I got 2 phones. Upset alert. Upset alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there. There's no hope. Hope is gone.
If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope.
I'm going to drink bleach. That it?
Be the team you promised me you were going to be this year!
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.
We're back to Birds vs. Boys. Welcome to episode, I'm not sure, it's 40-something. Producer Vince is not in the background to let Aidan and I know what episode this is. But that's just the branded difference, the Birds vs. Boys difference. That's what we give you. It's nothing but content. It's nothing but the best. So welcome to the episode. We have a jam-packed show with an awesome interview. And Aidan, I'll let you introduce who we have coming up later in our interview because he's your guy, he's your mentor. So, Aidan, how are you?
Look, I'm doing good. The tides are turning. We're recovering from a really bad football season. Mm-hmm. Things are starting to progress here and in society. And we can say that because we, the Birds vs. Boys podcast, got vaccinated. If you're watching on YouTube, check out my Band-Aid that shows that I have a needle. Also, check out those biceps. Come on, look at that. Look at
ravioli, that. Ravioli. Give me the vaccinoli.
Give me the vaccinoli, baby. So things are turning. Things are starting to look a little bit brighter here as we move and progress towards the NFL offseason officially. So I'm good. We're recovering from a bad season. We're on to the next one. There's a little bit of hope in the distance.
That is true. And there's definitely hope in the distance with our interview coming up.
That's true. So, all right, technical notes before we get into everything with our two teams. So, one, as Kevin just referred to, guest tonight is Jack Fritz. A lot of people in Philly know him. He is the producer of Marks and Reese on 94.1. Just backstory, he founded Philly Fan Life and then brought me on for Philly Fan Life. So he's been my mentor. So we cut up with him. Great interview.
Yep.
Very funny. Yeah, I was about to say, there's a balance that he has that I think that you and I strive for, of knowing what the hell we're talking about, but also having a sense of humor while doing it. So putting us three together, I think, worked very well on that. So that was fun. Follow the podcast on Twitter. As we said before, Birds vs. Boys Pod on Twitter, because there's a lot more content being churned out there. Follow us on TikTok as well, but that doesn't seem to need an introduction. And then more guests coming in the coming weeks. One last note, kind of related to this, because you and I are both involved. So for Branded, we are doing a Branded March Madness live stream.
Yes, we
promoted by and sponsored by Vidget, which this company I saw today, they have 1 million bets. People have placed 1 million bets with this company. That's how legit they are. I was like, wow, that seems like a lot of bets, because I've placed like a good amount of bets, but 1 million is a solid amount. So that'll be March 20th. Be on the lookout for that as well. And I think that's all I got for the program notes here tonight.
And a co-sponsor to the event is our guy, Stateside Vodka. So we're going to be drinking Stateside Vodka while we're betting from the bar.
I knew there was another reason it tied in. I had it written down. I was like, there's something else that I'm forgetting as to why this all ties together.
We're still working on the technical notes, people.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I got 2 weeks to figure it out before the March Madness thing goes down. So, but we got
that's going to be a lot of fun.
It should be, but for now, we are focused on football. So let's start the show like every other freaking NFL show starts. Is Dak Prescott going to sign a long-term deal? Is he going to be franchise tagged? Is he going to go to Chicago so we can stop hearing about this? Kevin, the floor is yours.
I cannot watch I hate ESPN just because ESPN has fallen off. And later when we're talking to Jack, he's like, I wish I grew up in the heyday of the 90s in the NFC East. Well, I mean, for you people that are young now who didn't grow up in the heyday of ESPN when it was Stuart Scott and all those guys and gals, Linda Cohn, I pity you because ESPN is such trash now. It's just so bad. There's no coverage of sports. It's just hot take after hot take and yelling after yelling. And every time I put the fucking channel on, they're talking about the Cowboys, and I'm sick of it. And I'm a Cowboys fan. So, yes, that's the lead in of every show. It's either, is Dak signing or getting tagged, or it's James Harden or LeBron James. And that's all they talk about. So, your question was, do I think he's going to get a long-term deal? That was your first question out of the gate. No, absolutely not. I do not think a long-term deal will be done by the time the tag deadline is, which is next Tuesday, March 9th. So this will be our last show before then. Luckily, we will record the day after, so there'll be a lot to discuss. I think he's going to get tagged. I really do. I don't think the Cowboys, I don't think Jerry Jones are willing to give him what he wants, because now he's saying he wants to be paid just below Mahomes and he wants that respect. I ask you, is he overplaying his card now?
Yes. Yeah, Mahomes has a Super Bowl ring. I mean,
and he's only lost 10 games in his career.
And Lamar Jackson, when we get to that conversation about his contract, like, he at least has an MVP to back it up. Like, you were like, no doubt about it, Lamar Jackson was the best player in football this year. And there's like, all right, Patrick Mahomes is no doubt about it, the best player in football. So Lamar making the case for Patrick Mahomes' money is one thing. For Dak to do it, I mean, come on, man. I get it, but I think you are overplaying a little bit.
The only thing Dak has to say is, look how many yards I throw for and look how many touchdowns. Yeah, well, look at the record in those games, especially, the beginning of the season this year. Everyone's like, Andy Dalton came in and the defense was so bad. At least when we had Dak, we had a number one offense. Okay. They were trailing to the Giants when Dak got hurt and went out. Yes, they came back and won that game under Andy Dalton, but they were not a good team the first few games of the season under Dak's leadership. So for him to get and kind of, I guess, demand right below Patrick Mahomes' money. What does even right below Patrick Mahomes' money mean? He got a 10-year fucking contract. What are we talking about here?
You're right. You're totally right. And if passing yards were an indicator of who was good at football, then Graham Harrell would be the best college quarterback of all time. But that's just not how life works. There needs to be some substance to it. It can't just be empty stats.
I mean, Tony Romo has all of the stats for the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. He is not the greatest quarterback in Cowboys history. I mean, it's Roger Staubach and Troy Aikman. Flat out. They were winners. They won Super Bowls. They have championships. Tony Romo has a broken back. Like, thank you. So I don't know. I think what is today's date? I've been saying this, I think, a lot. And if you listen to the podcast, you realize that I say this a lot. But March 3rd, 2021, I'm saying it right now, Dak Prescott will be tagged again, and he will walk after next season, and he will Kirk Cousins the Dallas Cowboys. He will go on and sign for $1 gajillion to a team that is just willing to overpay for him, maybe the Bears, next season, and he's going to walk.
Wow. All right. On the record, so we'll see. Any other?
I would love, possibly, if they can't work out a deal, I want them to work out a deal. If they can get him for a 4-year, 5-year deal, the $40 million a year is what kills me. But if they could get a sign and trade for him, I heard that now maybe New Orleans could be a possibly sleeper team that would want to trade for him. What would they give up? I would love to get Russell Wilson, but I also think, it was very easy for his agent to go out and be like, well, Russ is not demanding a trade, but, he would love to go to the Bears or the Saints or the Cowboys, teams that are just, historically great, where he would,
Can we just talk about how dumb that whole thing was? Just it was pretty much the equivalent to being like, well, I don't want a divorce from my wife, but I would cheat on her with this person, this person, and this person. Like that was just the dumbest, fake, passive aggressive trade request. Either you're done or you're not done. You can't just be like, well, maybe I don't listen. There's no marriage. There's no relationship where you're like, well, I don't. If you're not sold, it's over.
It's kind of perfectly Russell Wilson because he's just so fake as it is.
I agree. It's just like he's too nice to be like, listen, I'm done. I'm out of here. But he passive aggressively being like, well, I'm not done, but here's the teams I would like to go to instead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's one to keep an eye on. I don't know if the Cowboys can pull off that move because it would take a few first-round picks. Why give that up if you need to rebuild multiple positions on that team? Pretty much everything that's not wide receiver.
Yep, pretty much. And speaking of a different position group, there are rumors and speculation and actual reports out there that seems to be that the Dallas Cowboys and Gerald McCoy are going to come back together and reunite. He obviously signed a 3-year deal. I think it was a $30 million some last year. Never played one snap. First practice, he tore his quadricep. So he's coming off that injury, which Dontari Poe was coming off last year when the Cowboys signed him, and we saw how that worked out.
Yeah.
But we talked about it last year on the podcast. I was very excited about the McCoy. I thought he was perfect for their system. They needed a big athletic guy in the middle. They still do. And they need veteran leadership. That is not a hot boy, somebody from the outside. So if they can sign him back for very cheap, it seemed that there was no bad blood between them at all. He understood why the Cowboys cut him. He does have a $2 million dead cap hit against the Cowboys. So hopefully he'll come in playing for, $2, but we'll see how that plays out. But it does seem that all arrows are pointing to a reunion with Gerald McCoy and the Dallas Cowboys.
Good. I like Gerald McCoy, so I hope health wise he's all right. So
me too.
I'm hopeful for that. I'd rather not be the Cowboys because I think he's still got some left in the tank. But yeah, I mean, good for him as long as he's healthy. All right, you ready for my Eagles spiel before we get to Jack?
Always am.
I will be quick tonight because I think there's just one main topic I think we want to talk about because this topic's really heating up. And we talked about it in our review a bit too, but the potential of the Eagles drafting a quarterback. So I was reading a scouting report of Justin Fields by Ben Solak of Bleeding Green Nation. It says Justin Fields is a hot button evaluation, but if he falls into the Eagles' lap at 6 overall, they won't hesitate to make him the next franchise quarterback. So, I mean, I haven't talked myself into it, but I certainly also haven't talked myself out of it.
How does it make you feel?
I feel nothing anymore in life after watching this team. I have no emotion. I have no heart. I just think that in the city, there just needs to be endless QB controversy. And it's like, if you draft Justin Fields, what do you do with Jalen Hurts? And I don't think you can have them on the team because I think the team itself has bought into Jalen Hurts as a person. Like the players around him are attracted to him and his personality because he's cooler, relates to them better than Wentz did. He just has that magnetic personality that kind of attracts people with his leadership. So it's like the Harry Potter prophecy. One can't live while the other survives. Like if you draft Justin Fields, I don't think Jalen Hurts can be on this team. You're just going to have Justin Fields, a rookie, feel like every bad pass he makes, they're going to go to Jalen. So that's interesting.
It is. But that is the Eagles dynamic. They always need that backup sitting there to question the starter.
The factory's always churning out, man. Like some Nike factory in Indonesia. We are just cranking at all times.
It's like those Russian factories in World War II when they were just pumping out tanks and shit. Just nonstop. Let's go. War effort.
Boom. Yeah.
Quarterback.
Or in the Civil War when everybody in your town just went to one area so you could produce like gunpowder and make like those guns that shot once every 3 minutes.
Can we talk? This is a completely. I'm a war nut, but like the The way they fought wars back in the Revolutionary Civil War was just unbelievable. Just let's march up and stand there, and we have guns that I can fire one time in 3 minutes, and we're just gonna shoot at each other.
I think that all the time. It's like how wild of a strategy it was. It's like a football equivalent of that is like when you run the wishbone and you just like forget that you can pass the football too and just make it like glorified rugby. Just
like wait, I can hide behind this tree.
Like, why was that not your instant reaction? What a generational difference. And it's just like, or like the NBA before they had the 3-point line. It was just like, all right, we're going to just dribble around. There's no shot clock. That's how it feels like. We've come so far in football. I wonder if like in 20 years, they're going to be like, remember when they ran the football? Like, what a bunch of idiots.
Idiots. Can you imagine waking up like a dead Civil War soldier today and showing him like drone attacks?
Just like, oh, what movie was I watching? What's the movie? He goes, American Sniper. Imagine showing him American Sniper where they're on some roof. He just smokes somebody from a mile away with a flinch of a trigger.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. He's like, wait, why is he hiding? Why aren't they 10 feet from each other?
Standing in the middle of a field in Pennsylvania.
What a just unbelievable way to fight. And I think that'll be football too. In 20 years, we'll be like, why did we have positions? Why did we run the ball as much as we did? Like, why were you not throwing it every chance you got as quarterbacks get better and better, just like guns got better and better in the wars, like quarterbacks will be incredibly accurate. Accuracy percentage of 65 will be nothing. It'll be 75 and 80 in a few years. That's
if football survives the whole CTE and all those issues going down the line in 20 years.
That's true. All right, enough talk about that. Let's get into our interview. And then on the other side, we're doing a little bit more quarterback talk in the draft with our TikTok segment. So without further ado, we have, sponsored by Stateside Vodka, Jack Fritz.
I'm doing this big intro here, so I'm going to talk you up like a fucking your Emperor of Rome.
That's what I expect.
All right, Aidan, really excited for our next guest. We are now joined by the producer of the Marks and Reese show on WIP. He's also the host of the High Hopes podcast, the Art of the Take podcast, and he is the founder of Philly Fan Life. So you have to follow him on Twitter. It's at Jack Fritz WIP. It's the one and only Jack Fritz. Sir, how are you?
What's going on, guys? Excited to be here. Talk some Eagles Cowboys, I guess. Like, that's the whole bit, is that you guys argue about the Cowboys and Eagles. I mean, it's just a shame because both teams suck, but here we are.
It was a really funny bit when we started this podcast in the preseason, and then they started playing football, and it was just like a therapy session from there on out.
Well, at least you're going through it together. Yeah.
First, we started it. We're like, oh, this is going to be a great season. Both teams could be good. Then COVID. So then we're like, all we're going to talk about is COVID. And then we got through that, and we're like, all right, well, at least we can talk football. And then they both sucked. So it was like double whammy.
Yeah, it's just such a brutal football season. But, hey, at least the arrows are pointing up.
Exactly.
All they can do is point up after that. Well, let's get into that, actually. So the first question that I had. So one of the main points that we always say on our show, everyone is to blame for the Eagles' demise. So, Jack Fritz, do you take any blame for the Eagles' demise because it coincided with the end of the Eagles Counterpoint podcast? Your podcast end, the team falls apart.
I take a lot of responsibility for it. If there's one person that you could place most blame on, don't place it on Howie. Don't place it on Carson. Don't even place it on Jalen Hurts for being drafted. The Counterpoint podcast was a revolutionary Eagles podcast it was started right before 2017. Obviously the magical year. It created this cult following. It was so funny because like 75% of people got it. And then like the 25% of people that didn't get it were like really mad all the time. Because it was like the dumbest podcast ever, but it was like a fun podcast to do. And I do miss it. It's just like I couldn't do it anymore. It was it was just so dumb. Like, I got to the point where it was like, it's so dumb. I did love it. It was the greatest. But I tried to bring it back in 2018. They made the playoffs, brought it back last year, but this year I kept it kept it put away for the whole 2020 season, and you saw what happened.
Yeah, look what happened, and we fell apart.
I thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, there was a lot of Cowboys bashing on it. We tried. But like it's just not even fun to like talk about the Cowboys anymore. Cause like they haven't been good in forever. It's like I honestly like Aidan and I feel like we grew up and it was always the Giants. Like I always hated the Giants way more than I hated the Cowboys. Because when I grew up, it was like Quincy Carter and like Vinny Testaverde and like all these guys who were just scrubs.
Chad Henne.
Oh, and Drew Henson, wasn't he a
Troy
Cowboy
Hambrick in the backfield. Oh,
I mean, just awful football. So for me, it was always the Giants. So it is what it is, though.
It's true. All right, one serious question, then we're probably going to get right back into just chaos.
Shenanigans.
Cool. Yeah. So I think you're the perfect person to ask this because you are a Phillies fan, but also one of the most respected Phillies follows on Twitter, and you run the High Hopes podcast.
Right.
And I think we all have a team in Philly that is our favorite, but the Eagles still reign supreme at all times. Like you guys are always talking about on the radio, everything like that. Why do you think it is that in Philly, the Eagles always reign supreme no matter what's going on?
It's crazy. And I mean, dynamite guest booking by you guys, getting the Phillies guy on here to talk some Eagles. But it's funny because like when the Phillies were on their run back in 07 to 11, you could argue that it was just as big as a baseball town as it was an Eagles town. I mean, the Eagles were down. I mean, obviously they went to the NFC Championship game in 08, 09, and that was good. But that even felt like a fluke run. But the Phillies owned the town for a little bit there. I actually think it's a good baseball town. Like overall, I think it's a good baseball town. I understand the demographics older and it's a dying sport, yada yada yada. But I think there's genuinely good baseball feel. But with football, I just think it's once a week, and this city is like blue collar, gritty. And like they just love the idea of defense. Like they love hard hitting. I mean, let's think like the Broad Street Bullies. Everyone still talks about. Like Flyers haven't won a cup in forever, but we beat the crap out of people, so that's all that matters. So like with football, the whole sport is just trying to hurt each other, and I just think it is always connected well with this city. It gets a little bit colder. We get a little bit meaner. Like Northeast sports fans are my favorite sports fans in the world. Like they're just always angry, and I just think it coincides well with football. So I don't know what it is, but I just think that the game of football paired with the city of Philadelphia, it's just like a match made in heaven. And we like this city never really went the route of a New York where it was baseball, a Boston which is a baseball. It's just been football here, and it just is what it is.
And that kind of parallels well with the Cowboys fans down in Dallas. Well, not that they're angry. They're probably the nicest people in the world. You ever go to a Cowboys game down there, they'll buy you popcorn and a beer and give it to you for free. And be like, oh, thank you if you're wearing an Eagles jersey. But I always listen to 105.3 The Fan down there, which is the sister station of WIP. Of course, and we've had a couple of those guys on here. And it's the same thing. I mean, the Stars were in the Cup final last year. And they were trying to talk a little Stars, and people were calling in like, "Why are you talking hockey?" And they're like, "They're in the cup." Like, "What? We need to talk Cowboys." And they're like, "They're not. What are you?" And anytime they try and bring up Luka, they'll talk about Luka and the Mavs for about 3.5 minutes, and then it's right back to, "Is Dak going to get tagged or is he going to sign?"
I know, and I feel so bad for 105.3 The Fan because during Cowboys Week up here, Marks had this idea, and it's always hilarious where we like check in with the Dallas station.
Oh, they do the same thing.
Yeah, so like I'll go and I'll like listen at random points and just try to catch them talking about anything but Eagles Cowboys. So like a year ago, they were like arguing if Michael Young is like the best Ranger of all time. And like we played it up that I was just bringing up their stream and they were talking about Michael Young during Eagles Cowboys week. So I feel bad for 105.3 The Fan, but yeah, that's how we are, man. It's like, people are always like, well, why do you talk about the Eagles all the time? It's like, because they're the Eagles. Like they're the Eagles. They're what people want to talk about. And like they're the most talked about thing in the city for a reason. So it's just what we do.
All right. Speaking about things that are being talked about a lot and connected with the Eagles is Howie Roseman, right? The GM position. A lot of people want him gone with his draft history. But down in Dallas, also mirrors themselves. Again, we have Jerry Jones sitting there as general manager who does not have the best track record either. So which team do you think is positioned better for the long haul at general manager right now? Dallas with Jerry or the Eagles with Howie?
Well, I think Howie can get fired. I mean, I'm not sure. I think Howie can get fired if maybe one more year goes by. Like, the funniest thing about Howie is he's drafted like 9 receivers in 3 drafts, and our receivers still suck. It's like how does he keep getting a job? But like with Jerry, he's not firing himself, and he loves himself. And the Cowboys have actually, to their credit, been better drafters than the Eagles. So they're just. It's so weird. They always have more talent, but they have such a bad culture mix down there that it never meshes together. So I think Howie's a better chance to get fired first, but I don't know. It's I just, from my standpoint, the day Howie gets fired, I will just be shocked. Like, I don't see it happening. It feels like he might have a job for life. So it's a tough question. It's a good question.
I think if that happens, Aidan, as you see behind us, the Stateside Vodka, we're sponsored by Stateside. I think Aidan will drink an entire bottle of Stateside Vodka in celebration the day Howie Roseman is fired.
Well, it's hilarious. Like, we have a guy hung a Fire Howie sign outside our studio the other day. Like, he is not well liked, I would say, in the city right now.
I saw that. Maybe I'll take it one step further. I know you did Harper Lent, but that was for a positive thing. I may have to give up alcohol until Howie's gone. Just go dry. That might be the move. Well,
the key to that is you got to get a sniff of if he's going to get fired. Like, you can't go, like, I mean, it might be like 5 years from now. I don't want to put you through that. Like, at least with Harper, it was like, all right, he's signing like within a month, you would think. And then it was like, 6 more weeks after that. So you got to time it well.
Yeah, that might have to be my bit for next offseason. Now I'm just going to complain every show next year, next offseason. If it goes for again, that's what I'm going to do.
The old motto used to be, it's always next year, right? Except now we're not talking about championships. We're talking about Howie being fired.
Firing.
Yeah. Good to be back.
All right, before we transition, let's stay a little Cowboys-Eagles here. I know you said growing up it was more Giants because the Cowboys kind of stunk, but do you have a favorite moment in the rivalry at Eagles-Cowboys?
Not even close. It's T.O.'s return. I mean, T.O.'s return was amazing. So T.O. is my favorite Eagle of all time. I love T.O. like all in. It's 4th grade. The Eagles were unbelievable. And I was so heartbroken when he left that I changed my my ESPN my login info was T.O. sucks for life. So some say I own a lot of real estate in T.O.'s head. So when T.O. came back, I just remember like 5th grade, like, oh, get him. Like, we got to beat T.O. this week. And then, so like the game happens and then it ends obviously on the Lido interception, 102 yards, and just the whole stadium singing Lido was incredible. So easily my favorite game of the rivalry.
I'll never forget this song where it almost felt like a soccer stadium the way everybody was singing. I've never, you don't see that a lot in NFL stadiums, so that was one of the cooler moments.
It's just like I wish we could do that more. Like like when the Cubs went on their run a couple of years ago, and the whole stadium was like chanting "Go Cubs, go!" I've always wanted to do that with high hopes, but the Phillies have been terrible for 10 years. So hopefully we can get back to those times. But I agree. When the whole stadium gets behind a song, there's nothing more fun.
Yeah, I know the Flyers have done it a few times with songs, but you know, it is definitely like a movement. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's on my bucket list to go to a West Virginia game, and when they're singing "Take Me Home."
I know.
Country Road. Yeah,
I know.
Classic.
Yeah, it's a cool thing in sports that really, like soccer, I feel like it's the only one that does it really well. And the other ones have not caught on at all.
No. Just like the game of soccer here in the United States.
Yes.
Nothing about the culture has caught on here. All right, let's switch over to some draft talk because that is really the talk of everyone's town, no matter who your NFL team is. So straight up, do you think they're going to take a quarterback here in the first round?
Yeah, you got to keep that factory rolling, baby. I would not be shocked if they took a quarterback at 6. I really wouldn't. Like, Ike's made this point a couple of times, and I think it's really interesting. Like, you don't tank that game if you don't have a player in mind, especially when you're talking about like the quarterback position. So like them tanking that game and making sure it's a priority to get to the 6th pick. I know you could say like, oh, they just want the higher chances to get a pick, and the game's worthless anyway. But it felt like a ploy to kind of get up to get a quarterback. And like I'm not sure how much Hurts was a Roseman pick. Like I wonder if like seeing Doug's face when they drafted Hurts, like just how happy he was. I was like, I don't know, there's something off here. I could see it kind of being Doug's kind of guy because he was kind of sick and tired of Carson. So I don't know how committed they are to Jalen Hurts. I don't know. Like I kind of feel like they drafted him to be the inexpensive backup when they didn't expect it to ruin Carson. But I just I don't know. I think there's a good chance to quarterback at 6. Unless it's like Trey Lance, like if Fields, Wilson, and obviously Lawrence go first, like I don't think they will. I think if Fields is there at 6, I think they would take him. I don't think Wilson's going to be there. If they take Trey Lance, I mean, there's just going to be like the whole city would burn. Like, it would be a disaster. So I hope they draft Trey Lance just for that, but it would be a total nightmare for them. So. I feel like they could, but I really only think it would be for Justin Fields.
Do you think there's any chance they would move up for quarterback?
Unless they fall in love with one of these guys. I mean, it seems like they fall in love with the quarterback every year. So I could see them, I don't know what, like maybe they could use the Colts pick they just got back for Carson and move up. The thing is, I don't know where to. Like, I think the Jets are going to take a quarterback at 2. And then they could probably move up for Fields if they want to, but that would be shocking to me.
I think it'd be very funny if they tank that last game, get Justin Fields, and then Justin Fields just obliterates the Giants twice a year, every year, and just becomes like a Giants killer. Like we knock them out of the playoff spot with that tank, and then the tank causes us to get a quarterback, and they're like have Daniel Jones, and Justin Fields just goes off all the time.
Oh, it'd be amazing. Well, it'd be so classic Eagles Giants. Like Giants fans know how much the Eagles own them. And just like and the Giants fans aren't even like remotely close to being over the Eagles tanking that game. No. So I agree with you. Anything they can add, like I say this a lot, but I always want the other teams in the division to be better, just because I think it's more fun for the overall sport. Like I'm so jealous when people talk about like the '90s NFC East when they're talking about like the Eagles, Cowboys, Giants. Like I
remember it well.
Even Washington, like they were all good. And like they all hated each other, and now like every fan base is just like, well, we suck again. Like let's hope we can win 7 games, and even though this year's stupid with the whole extra game thing, so now you got to readjust how you mentally do the records. Now 7-10 is a new 7-9. No more 8-8. Now it's 8-9. It's just a disaster. I wish they didn't do it.
Yeah, what a money grab that is. It's just going to make everything way more confusing than it needs to be.
It's like when the Eagles tied last year, and it was like we kept having to say like, yeah, they're 4-11-1 rather than like they're 4-12.
Yeah, it was just like, all right, whatever. Let's just get this over.
Yeah, right.
Over under 3 times a day that Joe Judge still thinks about the Eagles tanking that game.
Oh, dude, Joe Judge can't sleep. I mean, between fighting his offensive line coach and being mad at Doug Peterson for tanking a game, I don't think Joe Judge sleeps at night. I truly hope that Joe Judge is terrible. Like I can't stand his whole act. I hope it was like a 1 year, like, all right, you're a tough guy for a year. You made your coaches run laps. Like let's have this whole thing end.
Thank you. Okay. I'm glad you are on my side with this, because I've been preaching this before he went off on the Eagles for all that stuff. I think it's the fakest tough guy act. Dan Campbell in Detroit, I think might actually be real. Like he might actually be a maniac. This fake act, I'm this hardo, I punched this other coach in the face. Most underrated storyline of the year, by the way. Yes, I'm so over it. So I'm glad you agree.
Yeah. The Dan Campbell cracks me up though. Like the whole like alpha quote from the other day and butting people's kneecaps. I'm very curious to see how Dan Campbell does. I have no idea if he's going to be good or bad. I lean towards bad, but there's a non-zero chance he could be good.
I think he's one of those guys where because of his personality, even if they go 9-7, it's considered success.
Yeah,
Just considering where the Lions have been over the course of their existence, 9-7 is good. And that's basically what he has to hit for it to be successful, given everything he says.
Well, it's not 9-7 anymore. 17
Oh,
games.
Mike, see? Oh, right away.
Disaster. It's a disaster.
10-7, too much. 9-8. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Real quick question before we get into the draft, because you brought it up. Ike Reese the day Carson got traded. What was it like in that room? Because I didn't listen that day, so I was curious. He was the leader.
I know. Ike was happy. I think Ike wanted him to go to Indianapolis. Like Ike knew he was getting traded. And Ike wanted to go to the Indy because he felt that him and Frank Reich get along well, obviously, and he felt like it was the best chance for him to succeed. But no, Ike is not giving up yet. He still believes in Carson, and he should. I respect going down with takes. I mean, I watched Nick Pavetta's spring training start today against the Twins with the Red Sox, so I respect it, and I am rooting hard for Carson next year. So I am right there with Ike, but he was more relieved that because he felt like the situation here was untenable. So going to Indy was the best option.
That's how I feel too. I'm sinking with the ship. If the ship sinks, I don't know. It could sail perfectly fine, sail smoothly now, but who knows?
Right.
But yeah, I'm with him. I wish him the best of luck in Indianapolis. I think he's better off there. But I was just curious because I know he is the number one Carson super fan, so it's good to know.
Yeah, yeah, he's all good. He's all good. He's happy that he doesn't have to deal with people saying he's bad all the time now. I'm sure his Twitter mentions were just unbelievable.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, dude, I would be like, I can't wait for this to be over. So I think he's good.
Anytime he wants to talk about it with us, you can just pass that word along to him.
Yeah, I mean, you got Johnny on here, you got me on here. I mean, the whole show's on here.
We have to
Holy
connect
Trinity. Yeah. Yep. All right. To finish up the interview, let's do this. Let's do the patented Jack Fritz name test. Let's bring up. There's some legitimacy to this that I believe in it. Like I think there's something to the name test.
I try to tell people about JJ Arcega-Whiteside. No one wanted to listen to me.
Terrible name.
Awful name.
And DK Metcalf.
Superstar.
Great name.
Yep.
Unreal.
Not that hard.
I know, right? All right, so we'll cycle through some guys who are probably going to be first-round picks. I left all the quarterbacks off because I think that's unfair. Okay. So we're going to start easy. And there's a follow-up question to this. So first name, Jamar Chase.
Superstar. Honestly, absolute. There's no doubt in my mind Jamar Chase is going to be a superstar.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And here's my follow-up question because I assumed it would be good. Does he have the strongest name test ever? Jamar Chase coming out of the draft.
I forget. I remember I loved Miles Sanders. I thought it just sounded like a stud running back name. Just like this guy's gonna be a stud. I don't know. I don't need to see much tape to know that he's gonna be a stud. I forget honestly, but Jamar Chase is my favorite name in this draft for sure.
Okay, that's what I figured, but I wanted to know how he stacked up all time. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll have to go through my pre-draft rankings, my mock draft 3.0s, and just remember what they were. But Jamar Chase, yeah. I was actually thinking about this the other night. I was like, oh, it's almost name test season, and then I was like, Jamar Chase. Absolutely. I mean, I've watched him. Like the bit used to be that I didn't watch any of the guys, but I've actually seen Jamar Chase. So it might skew my name test to make me sound smarter.
Yeah, now that you have the highlight tape to back it up. Yeah,
that's right.
And then most of the guys in the top 10 too, like you've obviously seen them. Like we've been picking later in the draft. You're like, I don't, I didn't watch Andre Dillard at Washington, but like Jamar Chase, LSU was like. Yeah, they were on 10 o'clock every night. I
don't even think the Eagles watched Andre Dillard. I mean, they didn't do a pre-draft interview with him. I mean, what terrible process that was. But whatever.
That one gets lost in all of the just misses. That one gets totally lost, and they almost saved themselves because they somehow found some kid who played rugby in Australia instead of just picking an SEC offensive lineman instead. Unbelievable.
It's not that hard.
It's not that hard. It's not that hard.
All right. Next name on here, Micah Parsons.
Oh, I love him. I know. It's going to sound like I'm going to love all these guys, but if I was thinking of a linebacker, it's like Micah Parsons. Can't you just see it? It's like Roquan Smith a couple years ago. And I know Roquan hasn't been unbelievable, But like Roquan Smith is just like that's a stalwart in the defense. Like going to Chicago is perfect. I just want him to take him. Like I want the Eagles to take him. Like I hate like Nate Gary and like it's always these scrubs that like it's awful and they just don't value it. Like they haven't drafted a linebacker in the first round since 1979. Like how is that possible? How is that possible?
The odds are just stacked against that to just ignore the position. I'm trying to think Jordan Hicks was the last one they even drafted even remotely high. And I think that was the 3rd round.
Yeah.
And they took Davion Taylor. And
he's whatever. Well, Stu
That's
Bradley,
a bad name too.
Was Stu Bradley a 2nd round pick? I think Stu Bradley is relatively high coming out.
Yeah, I do remember that. I can't remember what round. I do remember him being high. Michael Kendricks was higher.
He was a 2nd rounder, I think.
2nd round,
yeah. 2nd rounder.
But never the 1st round. They just don't value it at all. But I do agree. So I threw him in there because he's like my go-to, aside from Jamar Chase, who I agree will be a superstar.
Right.
On
Team Micah.
production, Team Micah, yes. Production value on the field, I think Micah was good, but I wondered how the name held up in the test.
Yeah, well, the thing that hurts about linebackers, so like you see what the Bucs did in the Super Bowl, and it's like, oh, linebackers are really important. And then you see like the Cowboys, right, with Van Der Esch and Jalen Smith, and it's like these guys should be better, but it hasn't helped their defense.
Stinks.
I know.
Clown Smith.
I love Van Der Esch, but it hasn't helped their defense. But I don't know. I still think linebacker is important.
Yeah, we kind of like gave it up because it's, they're like, oh, well, you don't really need them on the field every play. And then you're like, oh, well, now we have tight ends like Kyle Pitts. So now we kind of need linebackers again who can cover these big, fast, physical guys. So I think the return of linebackers are coming. So we'll see. You
want to do my linebacker name then?
I was about to say, this is another one then because we have another linebacker on the list. This is your guy, so go for it.
All right.
And I think he's the 2nd best linebacker behind Micah coming out too, and he can rival almost anyone for strong name. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah coming out of Notre Dame.
Well, the thing that hurts, I know, I'm sorry, but Notre Dame linebackers out. Like,
have you watched him play?
No, I haven't seen a snap, but
I'll send you some tape.
All right, send me some all 22 that I can break down. But let me tell you something, kid. No on Notre Dame players. That's a big no. I do the name test as well, but I stand by a couple things, and that is that Notre Dame defensive players are terrible. So, I'm not with you on that one.
All right.
I'm sorry, but I don't see that one working out for you. I'll take Micah Parsons.
Aidan, what did you say about him before we were talking? He hits people what? Without thought of life or something?
With a band, just like no regard for human life is how he hits people. But I am a notorious Notre Dame hater, so
right.
I do respect his tape. But
yeah, I mean, he'll forget how to play in the league. Don't worry. I mean, seriously, stop with the Notre Dame players.
Mateo's having a kid now. He just announced with a real actual person.
I know. It's a big step up for Manti. But they're all bad. I mean, like Harrison Smith is good, and then I can't really like who else. I don't know.
Jerry Tillery's okay for the Chargers.
Jalen Smith would have been awesome. Obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I loved him coming out.
Me too.
But I just, not a fan of the old Notre Dame Fighting Irish defensive players.
No.
Nope. They usually don't get it done.
I lied. I do have one quarterback.
Okay.
And also, I want to add on your rule. This year, no Notre Dame players, no Pac-12 players. I don't want anyone from the Pac-12. I'm done with it.
Totally agree. Yeah. It's Ohio State, SEC, not Vanderbilt.
Yes, and Clemson. We'll throw in Clemson in the ACC. They're pretty much everybody in the South. Everybody in the South and Ohio State.
For pure chaos, North Dakota State quarterbacks. We can take that.
Yes, you got to throw them in.
That if they drafted him, that would either be the best 4 hours of your life the next day, or the worst 4 hours of your life.
The best 4 hours. The best 4 hours. It's always the best 4 hours in their chaos. Although I will say, like the Hurts pick, I was furious. Like I was furious at the Hurts pick. And then I got over it. But in the moment, I was like, this is the worst pick in Eagles history. So, but now a year removed, drafting Trey Lance would be amazing.
And also might be the worst pick in Eagles history.
Correct.
Can't wait till it happens.
All right. So one other quarterback we haven't brought up. I lied. I had one quarterback name on the list. Mac Jones.
He's tough. The way he fails me is he's fat. Like he's like a little chunky. And,
Yeah.
like I would like my quarterbacks to be in shape. It's not the 1970s. So it's like you know what it is? It's a backup quarterback name. It's a backup quarterback name. That's not like I'm not, I'm not turning on Monday Night Football like Mac Jones and the whatever team versus this. Like that's not gonna work. It's kind of like Daniel Jones. Like Daniel Jones is the same way. Like it's Daniel Jones is like the least intimidating football name of all time. Like guy's name's Daniel. That's kind of how I feel about Mac. Like Mac Jones, not a fan. Not a fan. He's gonna have the same career as AJ McCarron.
Yep.
I think that's a fair assessment. He would have balled out in the air. Remember those pictures? They'd like show the guy smoking cigarettes at halftime in the locker room. Mac Jones would have balled out in that era.
Went to Heisman. He went to Heisman in that era.
Smoking cigarettes on the sideline.
Yeah,
yep.
for sure.
Yes, definitely. All right, one last name for the name test. Same team, because this can go either way, this player, Eagles or Cowboys. Patrick Surtain.
So I genuinely love the name. To me, that just sounds like a shutdown cornerback.
Yeah.
Like it just sounds like a guy that's like, couldn't you see like Mel Kiper being like, don't even throw Patrick Surtain's way. Just like has a good, he seems physical. I'm a big fan of Patrick Surtain. He's definitely not Caleb Farley.
I was just going to say,
yeah,
he wins the name test over Farley.
I mean, Caleb? Yeah. Nah, get out of here. I'll take Patrick Surtain all day.
That's fair.
I will too.
Well, I mean, what do you got? You got Trayvon down there.
Trayvon Diggs. That's it.
That's it?
Well, I mean, Awuzie is a free agent.
Terrible.
Jordan Lewis is a free agent. Terrible. So they have, they have Trayvon Diggs and Anthony Brown. And I always put this, Anthony Brown has a literal chip on his shoulder, tattooed a potato chip with his draft number on it.
Wow.
On his shoulder.
Dedication. That's dedication.
Yeah, and he's terrible.
I guess the motivation didn't work.
No.
Yeah, I guess it didn't work.
All right, before we get you out of here, Jack, talk about the podcast, talk about the show, and where people can follow you on Twitter.
Follow me on Twitter at Jack Fritz WIP. If you're a Phillies fan who really appreciated my Eagles conversation, you can listen to the High Hopes podcast. In my opinion, it's the best Phillies podcast out there. It's me and James Seltzer. And then if you want to listen to Scorching Hot Eagles takes, the best Eagles talk in the city, Marks and Reese is on the radio from 2 to 6, Monday through Friday. So we got a big Birds Town Hall coming up on March 15th, where we're having like Baldy in studio for an hour. We're having, the midday show guys over for an hour. We're having Howard. We're having Gilio. So, big day on March 15th. We're having a lot of special guests. So it's our next big Eagles thing coming up to kick off free agency, which I'm sure is going to be riveting as they decide to restructure and cut every player that makes any money, and they don't bring in one free agent. So really looking forward to that. But yeah, that's all I got for plugs.
Awesome.
That's all right. Yeah, I was about to say, I'm good on all our questions. Thank you for coming on.
Of course.
Thanks for everything, and thanks for being a good friend and a mentor and everything like that.
It's gonna make me weepy-eyed over here. such a leader. But yeah, thanks for having me. Cowboys are bad, Eagles are bad too. We're in this together, and I'm sure you can enjoy. Yeah, I'm sure you can enjoy some stateside vodka as we watch our football games next year.
Exactly.
Yep. Thanks for the free promotion there and catching on with that.
Yeah, you're welcome. No problem.
Appreciate that. All right, Jack. Thank you.
All right, see you guys.
Another big thank you to Jack Fritz. Phenomenally funny as well as informative interview, and that's the dynamic he brings, Aidan, and why I think we enjoy him so much, and the city of Philadelphia, frankly, does.
I agree. I know for him, he, like I said, he's a really respected baseball follow at this point, but Eagles always reign supreme here. Eagles are always king. So no matter what your favorite sport is, it's always good to cut up about the Eagles. So I'm glad we got a chance to get him on and talk a little Birds and talk a little bit about the rivalry. I thought that was funny. And just do the patented name test for the Jack Fritz name test, which I truly do believe in. And we agreed on a lot of it. So I know I'm not going insane. So that was good.
Except for Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. Watch out. I'm sending him tape.
I'm with him. No Notre Dame, guys. I'm not doing Notre Dame, guys.
Okay.
But let's stay with the draft. I know that's kind of how we finished the interview, talking prospects and the name test. Now, the big hot button topic with today was Chris Sims' 2021 draft QB rankings. And they were a little bit controversial, but then people went back and looked at his past rankings, and he was pretty spot on. So I'll just read his off, and then we'll get into ours for our TikTok segment of the night.
Please.
At 6, he has Trey Lance. At 5, he has Justin Fields. At 4, he has Kellen Mond of Texas A&M. At 3, he has Mac Jones from Alabama. 2, Trevor Lawrence, Clemson. And 1, top QB prospect, Zach Wilson from BYU. So definitely a list that raises your eyebrow, but looking at his track record, he really hasn't been that off.
Mm-hmm. He hasn't been. And I think we've just, for the last 3 years, have kind of just given Trevor Lawrence this overall number 1 pick and one of the greatest quarterbacks in college history, and he's just going to come into the league and take over. So I think that is the biggest reason people are so shocked at this, that he's not sitting at 1.
Yes, there's a few things that stick out, but that, I agree, is the biggest part of it, just not having Trevor Lawrence, who is perceived to be the number 1 pick coming out for really in this draft for about 3 years now. So that definitely raised some eyebrows, but who knows? It's not, nothing's a guarantee in this league.
No.
So with that being said, we will get into it ourselves.
Yep.
We are doing top 5 QB prospects in the 2021 NFL draft.
And these are going to be our TikTok famous power rankings with quarterbacks. We know Vince is not here today. We apologize. Actually don't know where he is. Yesterday you lost your co-host for PNR, and today you lose your producer for our show. So I don't know what's going on.
That was the funniest thing of all time. So quick story time before we get into this. Eddie disappeared, who is also helps with this show a little bit too. He kind of helps with podcast direction at Brandon in general. So, but we do a podcast together. He texts me all day about stuff he wanted to do on the podcast. I text him at 7:30 because we do it at 8. He doesn't text me back, which is fine because I was just like, hey, I'll be ready around 8. I'm driving home now. And then I was like, all right, I'm finishing up dinner. And then I'll be on in a few minutes. Still no response. I was like, all right, that's weird, but that's fine. And then I'm like, yo, it's 8:05. I'm good. You good? It's 8:30. And I'm like, I don't know where he is. It's been an hour. I don't know where he is. I texted the group chat. I was like, yo, I don't know. I haven't heard from Eddie. Should I actually legit be concerned? It was over an hour and a half until I finally called him. And I thought about this in society, and I talked about it on the podcast. These days, if you're without your phone for an hour and a half, people perceive that you're dead. You could legitimately think that you are laying face down in a pool of blood in your room.
Yep.
Without a doubt. And I was like, I don't even know how to get to Eddie if I had to save him, because he's dying, because he hasn't answered his phone in an hour and a half. And then I call him because I'm like, I don't know where you are. And I answered, I'm like, hello. And I thought it was a joke voicemail because he just goes, hello. He just answers and goes, hello. And I go, yo. And he responds, he just goes, yo. I'm like, I didn't call you to have I was like, what?
So what was he doing?
He just and then, well, I'll tell you. So we go through the whole phone call. I'm like, yeah, are you good? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, okay. He's like, oh, wait, I'll set it up. And I was like, okay. And that was the whole phone conversation, as if he didn't disappear. But he just he took a nap and slept through his alarm, which was set for 7. And didn't wake up until well after 9 o'clock when I finally called him just to I don't know, the police have your phone because you got in an accident and spun off the road.
Are you in jail? Did you kill someone?
Yeah. Do I have to bail you out of prison? It was either you killed someone or someone killed you. Mm-hmm. That is how millennials work without our phones.
Yes. Yep.
So anyway, top 5 prospects.
All right. So we'll let you go first because we have no triangle today, but that's how we usually kick it off. So we're going to go 5-1 with our quarterback prospects coming into the draft.
Cool. All right. At 5, I have Kyle Trask out of Florida. I think that some of the talent wasn't just Kyle Pitts. Some of this was actually Kyle Trask. So at 5, I have Kyle Trask.
Yeah, he can sling it for sure. At 5, I have somebody we talked about with Jack Fritz, Mac Jones. I think if he goes to the right team, he can be a winner. Watch out if he goes to New England.
I can see it a little bit. At 4, I have Trey Lance. I am obviously a little bit biased towards North Dakota State quarterbacks, but I think not that I've watched a ton of tape on North Dakota State, but I believe he's got a pretty good arm.
4 for me is also Trey Lance. I like his measurables too. He's a big, strong dude, and he can sling the ball. I think he has a chance to be maybe the best North Dakota State quarterback in the league.
I don't know about that. All right. At 3, here's where it probably gets controversial. I have BYU quarterback Zach Wilson. I actually like Wilson a lot. I love his mobility. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. I could see him on the Jets, but I don't know. I'm not totally sold yet. I'm at like 90%.
So for 3 for me, it's a flip of a coin, kind of 2-3 for me. So 3, I have Justin Fields. He's kind of been sitting as my number 2 in my head. It's always been, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. But I have him at 3, just, some of the things I saw in the playoffs that I didn't love. So I think he's going to be a baller. I think he's going to be good. He's obviously a tough son of a bitch. We saw that. So Justin Fields at 3 for me.
And at 2, I do have Justin Fields. As an Eagles fan, starting to creep up that I'm talking myself into him. I am still very leery of Ohio State quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. They haven't panned out, these dual threat spread guys there at Ohio State, but I think Justin Fields is the best one that they've had yet.
Agreed on that part. 2 for me is Zach Wilson. He does the same thing that like you said. I don't know if I love that he's coming out of BYU, didn't play against a ton of great defenses. The one defense he saw this year, Coastal Carolina, he did play well in that game. Receivers had a lot of drops, but, they didn't win the game. I don't know. I fear a little bit of Johnny Manziel in him, the attitude, and, family has money, so that does scare me. But I could see him being a Jet, and once you're a Jet all the way. So we'll see how that works out. But I have him at 2.
Fair. All right. At 1, I do have Trevor Lawrence. I think, look, there is a chance that Zach Wilson could be better than him. But if you were the Jaguars, you cannot take that risk. If Trevor Lawrence turns out to be the generational talent that everyone believes, there's just no way, if you're the Jags, that you can pass up this opportunity. The risk is not worth the reward with any other quarterback that isn't Trevor Lawrence.
Number 1, Trevor Lawrence. Can't wait till Urban Meyer makes him cut his hair.
Yeah. Imagine, I don't know how Urban's going to run his offense, but I know he would obviously do well with Justin Fields there.
Yes, he would. But I don't think you can do it. Like you said, the Jags, if he's sitting there, which obviously he will be, they have the number 1 overall pick, you got to pull the trigger.
Because, all right, so here's my mindset. If you miss on Trevor Lawrence, say Trevor Lawrence sucks, but you take him 1 overall, the fan base cannot be mad. Like, no. For 3 years, every single analyst has been telling you, college pro, this guy is next. Like, this is bona fide stud, number 1 pick. He's going to come out and be good in the NFL. Like, yep. If you skip that and he turns out to be great,
you're an idiot.
You're an idiot. But if you pick him and he doesn't turn out to be great, you're not an idiot. Like, everybody else told you. Everybody else is an idiot then.
Yep. 100%. Has to be Trevor Lawrence at 1.
Yep.
I mean, that's all I got for tonight or today,
this
morning, whenever you're listening.
Great show. As
it was.
Proceed. Next week, we'll have even more to talk about because we're getting into I think there's going to be some eye-opening tags, deals, cuts as we start to transition into the actual league year. So we'll have that. But great show in the meantime, honestly.
Big time. Maybe next week we'll talk a little Korean War.
Yeah. Should we do World War II or just review like war movies?
I've been on a big World War II kick. My wife wants to kill me. I'm a history nerd. So every chance I get lately, I'm just on history documentaries. I was watching a documentary on the Russian Revolution the other day with, Lenin and Marks and Stalin. She's like, what the fuck? I'm like,
I can't believe I didn't bring this up during the previous segment, but during the height of the pandemic when we couldn't leave our house, I took an online class at Penn on the Civil War. And it was
Love it.
awesome. But it was just funny that I could just sum up that entire class and like, hey, maybe we shouldn't have slaves and go into a middle of the field and shoot each other.
Have a good day.
Have a good day. And have a good day from the Birds vs. Boys podcast.
We will catch you next week. And thank you again to Jack Fritz, Branded Sports, and Stateside Vodka. Follow us, listen, subscribe, and rate.
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Yep. Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things.
I got 2 phones.
Upset alert. Upset alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there. There's no hope. Hope is gone.
If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope.
I'm going to drink bleach. That
Be
it?
the team you promised me you were going to be this year.
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.